So what does it all mean? Who is there out there that could make sense of all that is going on right now? When it comes to times like these, when it comes to politics such as this, we turn to one man and one man only. He is someone who understands it with breadth, depth, and height. He is Dr. Nathaniel Cogley from Tarleton State University. He's with me a lot because I just like the way he breaks things down. And he's standing by on the AcuteHearingCenters.com hotline. And Dr. Cogley, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Ken. Appreciate it.
What did you make of that debate the other night? It appeared to be a feeding frenzy, and everybody was eating each other. I'm not sure I got anything out of it other than maybe some entertainment, and I think the only thing that the country may get out of it is a good Saturday Night Live skit tonight. What did we get out of that thing?
Well, it was wildly entertaining. I mean, it was a debate that you could watch the whole thing. There were a lot of moments. So, number one, it was Bloomberg's first debate in the cycle. People had got pretty bored by the mix of other candidates. Ratings had gone down to 6 million, down from 27 million. This set the record at 33 million, largely because Bloomberg was on stage. But this was always going to be difficult for Bloomberg. Number one, he's running in the Democratic primary, but he's not a real Democrat. This guy's really an independent. And because of how our electoral college system works, he sees that the only path is through the Democratic primary, and he's trying to get on stage in a Democratic Party that's moved pretty left and be this kind of businessman independent. That's always going to be tough. But his national campaign, his spending of record amounts of ad spending nationwide has given him a lot of momentum. And so he came under attack from everyone on stage. And it's interesting that he's not even on the ballot in Nevada, which is today, right? And
right.
He's not even on the ballot in South Carolina next week. But yet they were attacking him, and less so Bernie Sanders, who is the one who's ahead, right now as the front runner, having done well in Iowa, New Hampshire, looking forward to a win in Nevada. So it's very interesting. And you're right, there are other squabbles with other candidates, but the idea is Sanders has this momentum, but he's a socialist. This is not a direction everyone in the party wants to go. Biden has faltered. He's not the heir apparent people thought. And who can consolidate to be that establishment moderate? They can't agree on that question.
Well, and here's the deal. You got Biden now is lapped by Bernie in Nevada. It depends on which poll you look at. The newspaper poll, there's a television station poll that's out right now. I mean, it's a 2-to-1 advantage that Bernie has right here today as they enter into this caucus. I guess my question is, where does Bernie stumble? He's not going to stumble here, and if he gets what he looks like he's going to get in Nevada today, that just tees him up for South Carolina, socialist or otherwise. I mean, everybody likes to jump on the train that's going down the tracks 100 miles an hour. So I'm not sure where the brakes are for Bernie Sanders at this point. Are you?
Well, it's similar to the Bloomberg thing. He's also an independent. He's also not a Democrat. He's a socialist, and he's been building this movement for a long time. You can see clips of him in the 80s. He's a proud socialist out of Burlington, Vermont. And so that's his stumbling block. I mean, the real powers that be in the Democratic Party don't want to go in that direction, don't want to get on board. We saw 4 years ago when he had a great campaign, they rallied around Hillary. They were able to get Hillary the majority of delegates at the convention. If this thing can ever whittle down to one moderate establishment candidate, there'll be ways to deny him a majority of delegates at the convention. And so that's Bernie's stumbling block, is just the powers that be in the Democratic Party see him as an outside force that is trying to take the party in a direction it doesn't want to go.
Well, the only moderate that would stand a chance would be Biden. Buttigieg can't seem to get any traction. Elizabeth Warren certainly isn't someone you would look at and say, well, there's a moderate. I suppose Amy Klobuchar, but again, somebody that's getting zero traction in this thing. So it almost does smell like that if what that scenario you're talking about comes true, that the beneficiary will be Biden, despite the fact his campaign has been a train wreck since jump. How can they take a guy that can't get off the dime in the primaries and put him up to run as their standard bearer? How can they do that and expect success?
Well, I think that was the assumption before voting began, was that Biden was the heir apparent, the two-term vice president. The party would rally around him. As you know, Ken, I've never been big on the Biden campaign. I'm not surprised that it's falling off. And I would just hold off. I think they have some other alternatives. I think Buttigieg is a challenge, one for a mayor, and the thing that people are reluctant to talk about, he's openly gay with a husband. The country's come a long ways on that issue, but I just, it's going to get him some votes, but it's going to lose him other votes. And to run a national campaign with being a mayor and that biographical element is going to be tough. But I do think Bloomberg or Klobuchar, are still their best matchups against Trump. And Bloomberg took some hits in that debate. I don't think it went well for him. His odds maybe came down a bit. But this guy's running a national campaign that no one can match. I mean, he's spending ads in every Super Tuesday state and beyond. He's already broke the record in Pennsylvania for ads. Pennsylvania doesn't vote till late April. And so other people are trying to raise money step by step. They're looking for funds to focus on the next state. And Bloomberg's just running these national ad campaigns that are rather effective. Not everyone was watching that debate a couple nights ago, and we have another debate coming up next week. And these ads are really powerful. He has a credible resume. Klobuchar is so interesting because you're right. She doesn't have that momentum behind her, but she's survived to this point. And you just wonder at a brokered convention, might she be the one best positioned to unify the party, even though she doesn't go in there with a significant chunk of delegates?
Yeah, I look at I look at the field, and as you speak, and it all comes down to money. Who has money left? I see where Warren raised $5 million off her Pitbull performance the other night, but that's an act that only plays once. She can't come back and do that same thing again. Eventually, if she keeps doing that, she's going to feel the wrath because, let's face it, she likes to spend money and doesn't know where money comes from. So I think she's got a weakness there. Buttigieg, I'm intrigued by him, but he seems to be just one debate of rehearsed and canned lines. And it almost sounds like there's a team of consultants that are under the podium that are just feeding him lines. And I think I'd really like to find out more about what he wants to do, but it's also canned. And with regard to the rest of the candidates that may or may not, have any kind of chance against Trump, Bloomberg, to me, and I don't know how you feel about him, I think he can spend his way to anything, but he's going to have to get more confident because he wasn't. And if he's not confident, Doctor, why would we be confident in voting for him?
So what you're raising are the great dynamics, which means that the last debate wasn't a game changer. I remember the morning after people were saying, Bloomberg's done, it's an F, game changer. And what you're astutely highlighting here, Ken, is there's still a weakness in the field. The reason Bloomberg got in late because there's a void in the field of someone who's a great matchup against Trump, who's able to consolidate this party. You're right. When Warren was the pit bull in the last debate, she was very aggressive and effectively. But anyone at the top of the polls with momentum gets attacked like that. And when she was at the top of the polls, she didn't handle it well, and she came down. Buttigieg, you're right, the master of rhetorical flourish, the best debater on stage, but we don't select a debater-in-chief. We do a commander-in-chief and a chief executive. And you're right, Bloomberg can improve his debate performance. One thing that's unique about the last debate is we're going to have the quickest turnaround to the next debate. So usually we've had almost a month's distance in debates. This is only a 6-day distance in debates. So, if Bloomberg has an effective second debate, that would do well for instilling confidence amongst the viewers. Yeah,
he's going to have to come up to questions that were asked last week that he seemed to have no answers to. I mean, I love drama, Doc, just like everybody else loves drama. Do you think we're closer to a brokered convention, or do you think a brokered convention is just some sort of pipe dream that existed maybe only back in the days when there was no television coverage and you could hold backroom deals? Where are we in the melodrama of all of that?
The more that Bernie leads this field, the closer we are to a brokered convention. That's where they can deny him the nomination, is at that convention. And this is why we had that interesting question at the end of the debate. Should the person with the most delegates, even if it's not a majority, be the nominee? The only one on that stage that said yes was Bernie Sanders, because he's likely to be in that position where he goes in there with the most but not a majority. And the others are saying, no, let the process play out. And so I think, if Bernie's the one leading, we're less likely to see the party rally around him, and we're more likely to see the party put its processes in place to deny him that nomination at the convention and select someone else through the delegate process.
Well, you thought rigging the questions for Hillary Clinton in a debate back in 2016 was something. If that happens, they can kiss the under 30 crowd goodbye, because that's twice in a row it will have happened to their candidate. I think this thing is, I mean, you could thread the needle and pull it off, but I don't see how you pull it off and get to where you need to go. To me, I think that's a slippery slope if they play that game.
Yeah, I mean, politically it's going to be tough to go with someone else and then get those Bernie supporters on board again. They did that a bit last cycle as Bernie went there and endorsed Hillary Clinton. But the delegate process, the majority of delegates and the rounds of voting at the convention are part of the rules. And you're a sports guy. You know we play by the rules. The cheating and giving someone questions in advance is not the rules. That is cheating. That's like Astros territory, right? So, yeah. So, but that is correct. If they deny Bernie, who's going to be the nominee, and will that be someone that the Bernie people can get around? That's where Bloomberg's tough, because he's the opposite of what the Bernie people want. This rich billionaire who's throwing a lot of money in the election, running on, the value of corporations and stuff like that. So that is Bloomberg's challenge, is not only to present himself as the best matchup, but then be someone the Bernie people can endorse.
It's fascinating. I mean, totally fascinating to me. I know it's fascinating to you, and it's great when we can get you on. Dr. Nathaniel Cogley, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Ken. I appreciate it, too.